Hey there, I'm James, the founder and CEO of Rally Corp, and I just had a funny conversation with a prospect. I wanted to share it with you because it's a question I actually get quite often, and that is, do old people text? Now, think about that for a minute. So we know Gen Zers text. My daughter, I love her. She's 16. She sends probably 500 messages a month. I don't know if she does anything besides texting, and she can hear me in the other room talking about her. So that's just insane. Now, we know millennials text, right? But like, what's an old person? Like, I think I'm an old person, just to be clear, right? But that's the question I get asked. It's like, do older generations text? And my question to you is, well, do you text? And do your parents maybe text? Because if your parents are like my parents, or even my grandmother, bless her heart, like, she's not as fast as she used to be. And if I want to really take the chance on really helping have a really bad day, I call her home phone, which is hanging on her wall in her kitchen. And I call it, and I let it ring 5 or 6 times, and then I hang up, and then I call, let it ring 5 or 6 times, and she's not going to get to the phone in time, right? So it's unloving for me to do that. Like, she hates it when telemarketers call the home phone because she has such a hard time getting to the phone. But if you really want to get grandma on the phone, you text her. You text her ahead of time, and you say, hey, grandma, the kids want to chat with you. Do you have a minute to chat? Do you have a few minutes? And she'll get to the phone when she gets to it. And it's probably in her pocket because she tends to keep her phone with her all the time because I harp on her, Mom, keep your phone with you, please. Okay, so here's the thing. Of course, old people text. Like, all generations text. The question is, how are you going to use it to connect with them? That's the bigger question, isn't it? That's the question we're really asking, is how do I create a sense of urgency or a sense of respect? Because I don't just want to text the same message to my millennials as I would to maybe my, 2 or 3 or 4 generations up from that, right? We just want to be very, very careful with how we deploy technology. And that should be just good segmentation of our list. So let me tell you the way some of the organizations have used text messaging that have an older audience, that they've done it well. We have one organization that primarily works with an older audience, and they have an opt-in month, kind of a recipe sharing club, right? The founder is known for her banana cakes and her recipes. So she allows you to opt into email or opt into text message alerts. And every month she sends out a nice little message and a link to a video of her like this talking about her recipe. And she shares the recipe. People love that. It's incredible, right? Another thing that they do is they host different bingo nights and different events around town to connect with people in different assisted living facilities. So you can opt in to receive alerts as to when it's going to be in your area, and you can do host different events, things like that. So again, you want to be careful. Like, and then the last way, I knew there's a third option. When they call someone, they don't just call them because it may show up as an unknown caller. They text them a link to a card they can add to their phone so that their name and phone number shows up in their phone. So every time they call, now their organization name shows up, and they're able to actually have a conversation with someone as opposed to let that person scream. Because there definitely is generations out there, myself included, where I just let everything go to voicemail because I just don't have time for telemarketers. Like, if you want me to pick up the phone, you need to be in my contacts. And text messaging is a great way to get contact cards out there. So this particular organization does that, but then they also use texting to text ahead of time to say, hey, Jan, do you have a few minutes to talk? The founder would love to just chat with you. And then when they reply yes or no, tomorrow's better, then they just set up a time to talk as opposed to just like calling and going to voicemail, right? So again, at the end of the day, to use mobile for all generations comes down to the same question. What is your objective? Who is your audience? How well do you understand your audience? How do you create value for that audience? And then what can we do to serve that audience and make sure that we're meeting where they are in a meaningful way. Now, if you want to learn more about different strategies and tactics, stop by rallycorp.com. We hold workshops where we talk about these things. And in fact, this upcoming workshop, I bet this comes up because it does come up from time to time, like what generations text. We'll talk about it specifically and give you some templates to use. And I love to see you there. James at rallycorp.com. Bye-bye now.